is God's roadmap for Israel and the church? These short Q&As will help guide you on your way. Anti-Semitism is said to be the world's oldest hatred, and its prevalence shows no sign of abating in our generation. Can you explain this?
Anti-Semitism is the hatred of Jews for being Jews, not the hatred of Semites, a category which includes Arabs. We see a very early expression of anti-Semitism in the biblical story of Esther, where Haman, the Persian courtier, sought the annihilation of the kingdom's Jews because their laws are different from those of every other people. I've alluded to Christian anti-Semitism, which was the fruit of replacement theology in the church from about the 3rd century on. The quote of St. Ambrose puts it into most stark and terrible light, where he said, "God has always hated the Jews. It is essential that Christians also hate them." That is an absurd statement, even for those who believe that God changed his mind about the Jews. But anti-Semitism quickly enters into the irrational. Muslims also fell into anti-Semitism following Muhammad's unsuccessful attempts to convert the Jews. Today, some of the most vicious expressions of anti-Semitism are Muslim. Children in Gaza and the West Bank are taught in schools that Jews are the descendants of apes and pigs, and they receive lessons in kindergarten and up on how to stab a Jew. The Nazis' anti-Semitism was a racial one. Jews, along with other inferior people, were polluting the purer races, especially the Aryan one, and needed to be eliminated. Today's most prevalent form of anti-Semitism takes a national form, a hatred of the Jewish nation. We see it every time Israel engages in legitimate and careful self-defense against the rockets of Hamas from Gaza. Israel is always in the wrong. We see it in the United Nations, where 1/2 of all emergency sessions of the General Assembly over its history have been to censure Israel. The Human Rights Council of the UN has a special agenda item for every meeting to censure Israel. This is perhaps the ultimate example of Israel being singled out and held to a different standard from all other nations. We saw this national anti-Semitism in Winnipeg recently during the recent Gaza conflict. Supporters of Hamas chanted, "Rape their women, stab them in Tuxedo," a wealthy neighborhood with many Jews. Winnipeg Jews hated for the actions of the world's only Jewish state. Many people think of anti-Semitism as inexplicable. I disagree. I believe it is rooted in jealousy and in the refusal to accept God's purposes for the Jewish people. Anti-Semitism is the sinful response to God's choosing of the Jews. A writer named Reverend in his book One New Man wrote this: "Thus the very fabric of humanity was rent at that moment, torn at that moment." What was that moment? The moment that God chose Abraham. "Since God made Israel my own possession among all the peoples, a kingdom of priests and a holy nation, the rest of humanity has struggled to deal with that choice." The fact that God's plan was to bless all the nations through Abraham did not prevent the jealousy and the hatred that grew in human hearts. God loves the whole world, and it is crucial that we accept the way He has chosen to express that love, especially through Israel and the Jews.